Good evening, Twitter, YouTube, my fellow Americans. I wanted to straighten tonight and just talk to you guys about what's been going on over the last few weeks, I guess. I think the topic of choice, or the hot topic right now, it has to do with the three Republican governors, my governor, Greg Abbott, Governor Ron DeSantis of the state of Florida, and Governor Doug Ducey of Arizona. As you probably are aware, they've been busing what they call illegal immigrants or migrants to cities further up north, like New York City, Washington D.C., Chicago, even Martha's Vineyard, which was the venue of choice for Governor Ron DeSantis, or so he says. And it's getting kind of a little bit out of hand. Last I had heard earlier tonight, there was news about a sheriff in San Antonio, Baystar County, is investigating the situation with the migrants that were transferred to Martha's Vineyard. Apparently, it was done in a certain manner that leaves to question whether or not it was illegal. Question of legality. Now, Governor DeSantis is not the only one that is really showing a doubt of legality in what he's doing. Governor Abbott as well. The issue of legality is with respect to the fact that is he doing it for profit as well as for his political popularity. One key point, or two key points to remember and understand, is that the definition of human trafficking is the transfer of people for criminal gain or criminal activity. It is even as much if you look at the RICO Act and the acts that have been passed to amend it thus far. There is a provision that says that it is equal to transport if you're making financial gains off of it, or financial profit. Well, in all honesty, Governor Abbott seems, by all manners, all appearances, that he may be, in essence, making profit off of the situation. The fact that he is taking donations to pay for the buses kind of gives an appearance that maybe there is an issue of illegality in this to that extent. Now, one other key factor that we need to understand, and this is a misconception because a lot of people seem to assume that these migrants that are coming into the country are coming in illegally. That is not necessarily the case. These individuals that are coming from outside the country, they are not forcing themselves into the country by any means. Typically, the U.S. has an asylum process, a process for them to seek asylum, and by the virtue of them coming to the border and surrendering themselves, they are, in fact, engaging the asylum process because they are seeking asylum in our country. Now, where it becomes questionable to a lot of people, and a misnomer to a lot of people, that it may be illegal is because they're actually coming into the country without applying for a visa, without applying. That's not necessarily being illegal, because the fact of the matter is, if Customs and Border Patrol are doing their job in receiving these migrants, processing an asylum request, sending them, receiving them, and sending them in the country to await their processing date. That's a legitimate process. There's no illegality about it, and that there is, I think, the major issue at bay with what these governors are doing is they're busing legal people from location to location, pushing the fact that this is, in fact, a issue, given the fact that they're coming in an improper way. Or so, these Republican governors have said. Now, another important point to remember also is that our immigration process in this country, our application process, is backlogged. It's broken. It has been for many decades. I can attest to this from experience, not of my own directly, but with people that I have worked with to help them get to where they are today as far as residency, as far as being here legally. And I can say for a fact that the system is messed up. There's no reason, justifiable excuse for a person to have to wait upwards of, at the most, 2 to 3 decades to get their status adjusted, to get while they're here in the country. Or for them to have to wait months on end to get an appointment, to get a visa, to get into the country. Nor is it correct for a person who has come into the country and has applied for adjustment of status to have to go back to their country to complete the process when immigration knows full well that they're here to begin with and that they began the process legally inside our country. There are numbers of issues with the immigration process. The fact of the matter is that our Congress has stagnated, and they have come to a standstill. They've created a stalemate with respect to the immigration system. It is up to our Congress to pass the necessary legislation to update our system to be able to handle the mass influx of immigrants in this country. That is the problem that we are dealing with today. We're dealing with an immigration system that is completely overwhelmed because it cannot handle the amount of influx coming in. You have countries like Venezuela that people are fleeing that country because of the situation there is not livable. They choose to come here thinking it's easy, and they seek asylum. Okay? Things like that. Persecution by foreign governments. In some countries, persecution by what do they call these drug lords. Forces these people to flee to a safe haven. This overwhelms our borders, obviously. But the fact of the matter that they are coming in seeking asylum, they are using the only viable legal recourse they have. There's an expression, time waits for no one. And that's what happened with these people in this case. I'm not advocating asylum by any stretch or means. That's not the intent of this live tweet. The intent here is to clarify what the exact issue is and what needs to be done, because this situation has gone so far off the tangent that we're making an assumption that is not in fact correct. Going back to the situation at play right now, it's probably going to be a matter of time before these governors are going to get themselves into some legal hot water. As I said earlier, the sheriff in Bazar County, which is in San Antonio, is conducting an investigation on the migrants that were transported to Martha's Vineyard. Now, should he get the feds involved, and should the feds agree to work in conjunction with him, this is going to bring this investigation to a much higher level. I would shudder to see what is going to happen to those involved, including Governor Ron DeSantis. Now, in not so many words, I guess the same thing might apply to Governor Greg Abbott. Everything he's done so far with respect to immigration has had a degree of illegality in it. Operation Lone Star, for example, he is basically doing immigration's job, which, by the way, is against federal law. Federal law states that the governor or the state of Texas um, cannot manage or cannot conduct immigration processes, because that is exclusive to the federal government, to its immigration department. There is a degree of illegality there as well. So it's not just one governor that is touch and go with as far as whether or not what they're doing is illegal. This is all governors, really, because anything you do immigration wise, if you're doing immigration's job, you're violating the supremacy clause. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. With respect to that, um, it's going to be interesting to see where the investigation in Bazar County is going to end up at. Um, with Ron DeSantis, was the issue that the money that he supposedly used was supposed to be to deal with issues in his state, and he used it to transport migrants from another state, in this case the state of Texas. There's a degree of illegality about that as well. So all this is going to be wait and see. All this is going to be the time will tell what is going to happen. I would not be surprised if these governors got into some serious legal hot water. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for hearing me out, and I hope to be able to live tweet more frequently. I've been kind of busy lately, and I've not had a chance to sit down to do this. But I wanted to do it today because this topic is like really, it's a ticking time bomb. It's hot because it's ongoing. And I thought at this point I needed to say something because the way that everything's being spoken of on the web, it's getting to become more and more misinformed. And I believe that the issue that we're dealing with here is not necessarily individuals. It is the immigration process itself, and the lack thereof of any manner by Congress to streamline, to pass legislation to improve and repair the system that is backlogged and extremely overwhelmed. Well, thank you for your time. Have a nice evening, and see you later.